Right, afternoon everybody. I'm Steve Silverwood. I'm the MD of ECA Business Energy. I don't think anybody sat here today will not seen the rise in energy costs. The media's been focused on the domestic market, so we'll look at the difference on that. We're going to look at what's causing the increases, how much does it mean to you as a business, and what can you do about them. So we'll go through these things this morning. So, first thing to get clear is that commercial market is very different to the domestic market. There's a thing called a price cap in the domestic market where the government has put a cap on of around 29 pence electric and around 7 pence gas. So that means that even if the wholesale cost of energy goes above that, you will only pay 29 pence and 7 pence in domestic. Of course, in the business world, there's no cap. So if the price goes up to 50 pence, you're going to pay 50 pence. So that's the first difference. The other thing is something called non-commodity costs. So within your energy bill, you pay for the wholesale cost of energy, and you also pay for transportation, you pay climate change levy, you pay distribution, you pay environmental costs. All these costs add up to about an extra 10 pence. That's something that is in the commercial world but not the domestic market. So there are some key differences here between the two markets. The other thing is support available. So we've probably all seen that in the domestic market, the government is giving £400 windfall tax in October. They're going to tax the suppliers and give you £400 back. There's means tested support available as well, where there's up to £650 available on a means tested basis, and there's a winter fuel allowance. For businesses, there is no support whatsoever. They've not given any support whatsoever at government level. The other thing is necessity. So with a business, you can obviously cut down on your consumption, but the body shop has to use compressors, it has to use his ovens, it has to use lighting. A body shop will probably cost around 40 to 50 times more than a house. So there's some key differences between the commercial usage and domestic market in energy that the media's not picked up on. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a lot today about some costs and why they're going up and what the costs are. We deal with about 500 body shops. We deal with all kinds of businesses, but we deal with 500 body shops, and we've taken some averages. So the numbers I'm going to talk about today are on an average basis. It doesn't mean that's your particular circumstance. It might be you've got a contract due, it might be your usage is more, but it will give you an idea of what the costs are and what they're going up to. So the graph on the left there, the March 21, is what, if we were buying energy in March last year, that is what a typical body shop, two good body shop would be spending. So about 21k on electric and about 18k on gas. If we fast forward to 2022, the same body shop, two ovens, same volumes, you're looking at around 39 grand on electric and 45k on gas. That's an increase on bottom line of 115%. You also notice the shift between electricity is now less than gas. That's because of how gas is charged. So these costs are massively going up. Now in a body shop, the biggest user of energy is the booth. So the booth uses a lot of energy. So we've done a lot of work around cycle times and how that translates into energy. So an average cycle time we took of 1 hour 42 minutes. Had a cost last year of £18.82. If we take the same cycle this year and apply this year's rates, you're looking at £47 for the same cycle. So by doing nothing different, you're seeing an increase in your cost of £28 per cycle. That's 149%. Now it might be worth talking to your insurance company or your work provider and see if they're providing any support on this. We have heard of some work providers providing some support around energy and doing a contribution, so it's worth talking to them. So these costs are absolutely huge. 149% increase per cycle time is a massive cost to you as a business. So what's causing the increases then? So energy, as I'm sure you're all aware, is a commodity, and you buy commodity on the open market, and it changes as we speak. And lots of things affect the price of that commodity. So it can be the weather, it can be storage, it can be political events, it can be coal, carbon, oil. All these factors have an impact on the energy markets. Now, this graph shows the wholesale cost of energy up to 2021. In truth, when we cut through all the factors, it's about supply and demand, like most commodities. If we look at the wholesale cost back in January 21, we're around about the £50 a megawatt hour mark. If we went back to June 20, in the middle of lockdown, that was at its lowest point, about £30 a megawatt hour. So as we come out of lockdown and we start using more, you will see that it starts to aggressively move up. The scale of the graph doesn't do it justice, but you'll see that around August time, as we're thinking about buying for winter, we really start to ramp up. Now, in October, it hit £200 a megawatt hour, 4 times what it was in January, and that was because it was a French interconnector, so a pipe supply in France, that caught fire, so it caused an immediate spike. That settles down again, but again we're still around, this is winter 21, we're still around the £80, £100 a megawatt hour. Then, in January 2022, Nord Stream 2, so Nord Stream 2 is the major pipeline from Russia into Europe. That pipeline got suspended, that was going to be live, and that was going to be the answer to all our prayers from a storage point of view. That was shut down, that's not happening now, obviously, we're being mothballed, and that's a massive spike there. Again it settles down again, and then guess what, we hit March this year when Putin invaded Ukraine, and that's a massive spike. We're concerned about storage level, concerned about security of supply and things like that. It has settled down a little bit, so around the £150, £200 a megawatt mark now. My view is that certainly going into winter 22 and 23, those prices are going to be the new normal. We have to get used to that pricing level. I don't think it's going to come anywhere near 100 or less pound a megawatt hour. We need to get used to energy being at these prices. So we need to think about what we can do about that. So what can be done? There's no magic bullet on this. There's no one thing that can be done that's going to get rid of those increases. Lots of little things that you do that might seem a little bit trivial, might seem a little bit time consuming and not part of your main business, but these need to be done because that's the only way you're going to claw back at some of these 149% increases. So the first thing to do is to create a complete strategy. So look at how you buy energy. There are ways you can buy a little bit differently, and I'll talk about those in a second. Invoice management and validation is extremely important. Are you paying the correct bill? Are you paying to estimated reads or actual reads? The energy suppliers will overestimate and they will take your cash off you. So it's important that you're billing to actual reads and that your bills are checked. We'll talk about that later. One of the biggest things I'm going to talk about this afternoon is about consumption reduction. Consumption reduction is the area that I think we can massively impact and we can have a big effect on. All the other things, you know, you're kind of in the hand of the gods with the markets and things like that, but consumption reduction we can control and we can take effect on. And then carbon reduction, it might seem strange to put carbon reduction in there, but carbon reduction is massively important in future-proofing your business, and of course if you're reducing carbon, you're going to reduce your costs. So carbon reduction must form, in my opinion, part of your strategy going forwards. Okay, so have a quick look at some options around procurement then. So the first thing you should do when you get back from this event today is look at your current contracts, look at when your contract is due, look at your supplier, look at the type of contract you're on, talk to your supplier, talk to your broker, talk to me, and we'll have a look at what options you've got. There are long-term, short-term options out there, so it's important that you consider that. It's important as well that you consider renewable energy options. That'll play a massive part when we're looking at your footprint, your carbon footprint, and how you future-proof your business. So consider renewable contracts. Ensure all sites are coterminous, and what I mean by that is if you've got multiple sites, make sure you understand the contract end date on each site, and if possible, get them to be on the same contract date, because that way you'll take advantage of your volume. So it's no good buying one site in January and one site in March, one site in December. Try and get them all due for contract renewal at the same time and buy it all at the same time. That way you'll maximise the volume. Using market intelligence is really important. Don't buy when your contract is due. Just because your contract is due in October, don't wait until September to buy your energy like you would your insurance contract. It's a live commodity. Look at the market and buy in line with the market. If the market's dropping and softening, you should be getting prices. even if your contract is next year, you can buy energy today for next year. So it's worth looking at if the market is showing any sign of softening. When we talk about metering and data collection, that's really important. So you can get data from your meter that will tell you how you're using energy, when you're using it, and that's really important when we talk about energy reduction. And then finally, if you have got multiple meters and you're changing your portfolio, it's important to have a process for putting new sites in and removing sites as well. The reason for that is if you move a site and don't tell the supplier, they're still going to charge you. If you take on a site and you don't tell the supplier, they're going to charge you an out of contract rate. So portfolio management is quite important. Okay, so what we did about 10 years ago was create a Bodyshop basket, and we got all our Bodyshop clients and we put them all together. And that gave us access to a product that we wouldn't normally have. So in the market there's something called flexible purchasing, but you can only do that on your own if you're a certain size customer. But by putting all these customers together, we had the volume to buy flexibly. And the way flexible purchasing works is, normally when you buy a contract, you agree your contract here, 25 pence a kilowatt hour, you're locked in a contract for 2 years, and you'll pay 25 pence a kilowatt hour for the next 2 years. Okay? So that's fine if you've got a good deal at the moment, but it doesn't take into account market movements. What a flexible contract and what the energy basket does, it allows you to buy in chunks. So you can buy in a month, you can buy in seasons, you can buy in quarters, you can buy a full year if you want. And what that allows you to do is buy a certain period, and if the market drops, you can buy again. So you can buy again and you can take advantage of the market dropping. So when we look at the market being at an all-time high now, if there is any sign of softening, you're in a flexible product, you can buy in line with that drop. So it means that you're not fixing out at the 25 pence. If it drops to 22 pence, you can take advantage of that. So it's a different way of buying. It's a more flexible way of buying, but it might be something to